Nathan, it's Wednesday, June 4th. So a couple of weeks ago we went on a road trip to New Mexico. It's a long drive. It took about 14 hours to get there, which is pretty hard to get through as a passenger or a driver. When I uploaded the video of that leg of the journey to YouTube, lovely commenter Carla T jokingly asked, "Don't you guys have trains in America?" To which we had to embarrassingly reply, kinda? The reality is, in most of America, at least especially here in the Midwest and the West, trains are used for transportation of, like goods and stuff, not people. In fact, whenever I, and also most people I know, consider traveling, I forget that taking the train is even an option. Honestly, it seems kind of like a novelty to me. Driving makes sense because it's cheaper and you have total control over your schedule and route. Flying makes sense because even though it's pricier, it's a hell of a lot faster. And that's something that's really sought after here in America because our land is so spread out. Like, I could drive west for the span of a work day or maybe even longer and not even leave the state. But taking the train, well, it's less controllable than driving and slower than flying. And on top of it, since the highways were built, there just aren't very many convenient ways to take the train. You're pretty limited on where you can go. So for most people around here, when you mention trains, we'll mostly think about that one time that we had to wait for what seemed like hours at a train crossing, or about how old-timey they are. However, I think that it sucks that we don't have an awesome train system here in the US. Like, I love our extensive highways and our accessibility to airports, but I think it would be really cool to have the option to take the train more conveniently than it is now. I love traveling, even the boring part of actually getting to wherever I'm going, and I think that taking the train long distance would be such an awesome experience. But, I mentioned earlier, the United States is very, very expansive. Okay, so say for example I wanted to fly from my town Lawrence to Chicago, Illinois. That would take about an hour and 15 minutes. However, if I were to take the train from my town to Chicago, that would take 9.5 hours. Basically, if we want to seriously consider having long-distance traveling trains here in America, they're gonna need to go a lot faster. With how precious time off of work is, it just isn't worth it to spend a day or two traveling by train over a few hours by plane. That's why some recent news is very exciting. The Japanese government is offering to America to waive their licensing fees for their maglev trains. This technology is really cool and next level. It uses magnets in the tracks and on the bottom of the trains to levitate the train just above the track. This helps to cut down on traction, which is a huge energy consumer for ground trains. It also allows for heightened speeds. So far, these trains can get up to around 580 kilometers per hour, which is around 360 miles per hour. Holy crap! If we had this kind of technology in the US, traveling long distance or even just commuting to work would be so much more accessible. I sincerely hope that even if we don't accept Japan's offer, we still consider something like this for our future transit systems in America. What do you guys think? If you live in the US, would you be for or against adopting this maglev train technology? If you live elsewhere, what are the train systems like in your country? Do you use it frequently? Let's discuss in the comments, and Nathan, we'll see you on Friday.